J.B. Smith, I'm the chair of the Coney County Conservation Bank Board, calling our meeting to order, May 18th meeting. We have a quorum. We've got Scott Walker, we've got Ryan Keese, Emily Hitchcock, myself, Charlie Vanover, and Laura Havren. I want to make one reminder is that when we get communications from Katie, don't reply to all, just reply straight to Katie. Otherwise, we're creating a quorum. Second thing on the agenda, Nick's may be here, but I'm sorry, Nick Gambrell may be here, but he's got car trouble, so he might not make it. Second thing on the agenda is approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Laura moves. Ryan seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. And remember to raise your hand so that Katie can see your vote as well as hear the muffled vote. Third, treasurer's report. Laura.
Okay, the treasurer's report for Community First account ending in 183 with the period ending March 31st, 2021. The opening balance is $4,420. There were 0 deposits, 0 expenditures. So the ending balance in the account is $4,420. Okay, the treasurer's report for the local government investment pool, period ending March 31st, 2021. The opening balance is $344,328.95. Deposits were a reinvestment of interest for $37.08. 0 expenditures, so the ending balance in the local government investment pool is $344,366.03.
Thank you, Laura. Do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I will.
That's Charlie. We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye, and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Fourth on the agenda is fundraising and public relations reports. I'll report a little bit on fundraising. I've been finally got contact with Senator Thomas Alexander to have a meeting, and that's going to be next Monday, the 24th. Laura and Ryan and I, the fundraising committee, are going to meet with him, and Laura has made a beautiful draft of a presentation that we're going to give to him. We're not sure how much time we have. It'd be wonderful if we could take him out to one of the sites, but I don't know if he'll want to do that or have time to do that. But nonetheless, we're going to meet with him and give him a proposal. We're going to ask him for $5 million as an endowment that we can generate interest off of. That doesn't violate our ordinance because we're prohibited from taking local tax dollars. But we're going big or going home, as Laura says, and just see what happens. Of course, this is long-term thinking because I think the legislative session is either ended or close to ending. I don't think it'll happen this session, but we want to give it a shot. Laura, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I think what precipitated our making this ask of him is that South Carolina has $840 million that they need to spend. And I know that they're going to get, I saw it today and it went out of my head, how many billions of dollars, for the COVID or the stimulus for the economy or whatever. But anyway, we thought we'd go ahead and bring it to Alexander to ask for money. And, what I did was I took a look and said, if we really want to establish an endowment, how much money do we use in a year? And I kind of based it on the last couple years and what we've done. And if we could have an income of about, $200,000 a year from our investments, and that's an average, you put it over, time to say it's an average of 5% return, that would give us about what we want and maybe would use. So that's why we came up with the $5 million. Presentation I put together, people like him don't have a lot of time. They're not going to wade through a lot of paperwork. So I was trying to create a short, sweet proposal. What I'm not comfortable with is my last page where it talks about what are the benefits to Oconee County. If you give us this, I'd like to have a good list of benefits and the final reasons why, what it would do for us. So if you have any ideas, send them to me in an email, I'd appreciate it. But it's, the presentation we've got is really for our talking points, and I think the three of us, probably Andy will be in charge, start the talking, and we'll all interrupt him and add in, and
Well, I think ecotourism is a kind of growing niche market in South Carolina, and it's by virtue of where we're at. I mean, I was amazed. In the last 10 years,
yes.
we're 242% more.
225% growth.
So, I mean, I think we have a case to say this is vital to South Carolina and to this, to kind of,
And Alexander, I looked up his bio, and he's been here, lived here quite a long time and attended I can't remember, was it Clemson he went to?
Anderson.
Another university.
Anderson.
So he loves this area too, and I think he'll understand that a lot of people move here because it's a fabulous area and all the tourists that come here. So if we can save the environment, and it's not that we want to stop the growth. My emphasis in there is that we want to work with the growth, and we want to preserve that which is valuable, before it's too late, so.
And he's seeing, he's got a business in downtown Walhalla. He's seeing the improvements in Walhalla, and we're all banking on that. That's a benefit that's going to serve the county very well.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. It's next Monday that we have our meeting in the afternoon. We have no idea how much time, but.
Any other
No,
thoughts?
that's what I said. It's going to be about 20, 30 minutes max.
I do have one other thought, that when you're looking at that benefits, that of course you have to couch it in terms of not every property meets all of the goals, but I would hit on some of the particular goals like water quality and the reduced cost to the taxpayers if those properties that are adjacent to or in water bodies of water. And there are, of course, a couple on the agenda today where the impact of preserving that land for future water quality is important. So you might have some examples of, that, because I do think it's important that it's not going to be you conserve every acre in Oconee County, but that we have standards. And of course, I haven't looked at this, but if you were saying that's where you, when you're beefing that up, that's one that really hits the top of my head that has.
That emphasis on water is critical because we have good water, clean water here, good water out of the mountains. And doing things to keep that is critical. I mean, so many other places don't have it.
That's true.
I think it's also important for us to know as a committee that we have been spun in the news in the last couple of months as to being all about stopping future development. They're not mentioning, that's why it's so important to get a newspaper to get an article to kind of explain more of what we're about. I see it from, some of the councilmen, and just some of the way the news is written, it's more like we're trying to come in and stop property from being able to be developed or rooftops, and that's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
And again, and I haven't looked at this, but the fact that this is not, we have to look at individual properties to make sure they meet the goals, but nobody is telling anybody what to do. And again, I think that is an important fact to emphasize. So this is.
They have the freedom to come to us. We don't, we're not.
We're not making them do anything.
And we won't necessarily accept just any property.
Okay. The only other thing on fundraising was, we talked about getting the Seneca Journal. Have you talked with anybody, Ryan?
I have. As of yesterday, I texted, my contact is I guess he's general manager of the newspaper. And I reached out to one of the main writers or contributors, Norm Canada.
Yeah.
And he was really busy working on that, the shelter series, so he kind of had his hands full. When I texted Hal yesterday, he said, I'll walk over there. He's just been slammed, so we'll get all, we'll get one.
Okay.
I bet they'll do something nice.
Okay.
And Laura's drafted the basis of an article there, but I think it'll work better with a lot of photos and that sort of thing.
Well, and if, you know.
And maybe
you
even
can get
quotes from,
interviews of people, properties, or
Yep.
talk to like, Chris or Max or Eddie and get quotes and.
Or Mr. Lombard or whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and owners of properties. I think that's very important.
So what I tried to do was just put together the basis so that it would give him enough knowledge to start to do his research and move forward without having to start from scratch, so, anyway, yeah.
The conversation raised a question in my mind as being a relatively newbie who's becoming a veteran very quickly, apparently. But the comment about we don't have to approve everything that comes before us. Historically, how many properties have come before the group that have been rejected?
I don't think we've rejected any. We have denied accepting at least one application because it was not for something we funded.
And early on, there was, like in the very beginning days before any of us were on it, but I just read the minutes, there was one application that the person was told, the landowner applied instead of the qualified applicant, and they were told to go find a qualified applicant and didn't. And I believe, based on personal knowledge, it was because that property would not have qualified. And so they were unable to find.
I think what happens is, we're working with Eddie and.
Yeah, they're the
Max,
ones that
and
screen
they
it.
qualify,
By the time it
they
gets to
screen
us,
them.
No, I understand that,
Yeah.
but, just as a point, if you're gonna make it a point that we're not, a roadblock to development, et cetera, to have the factoid that, there have been properties that we have not accepted for this is evidence of that fact.
Okay.
One thing that does address that is that, so when we came on board, the criteria evaluation sheets were developed. And we spent that year plus redoing that. And one of the things that we did that didn't exist before we got to it, there wasn't like a minimum score you had to make to qualify. And so we've now established that. I can't remember what they are, but it'll be important today.
They're like
Several.
20, 30, 40, 25,
Yeah, it
I can't
depends on the
remember.
type of
We have four
property.
categories, because we have the solely historic, which is the lowest one. And then we have farmland, non-farmland, so maybe we only have three categories, I can't remember.
I think it's 3.
I have to look at the policy every time we do
I don't mean
this.
to bog it down.
No, that's fine.
No,
You're 100% on the
Your
mark.
point is really good.
And that was something that kind of worried me, is that we needed to establish a minimum standard, at least threshold you had to make. It's a good point.
And that is an interesting point, though, because it is going to self-select. Because all of the applicants do have standards, and they will not accept a property for their programmer to hold a conservation easement unless it meets their minimum standards. So we're not going to get an application to put a conservation easement on the tire place in downtown Walhalla, for example. So.
Eddie, do you have anything to address to that?
I think that Emily's point,
Sorry,
that's right.
you're a professional.
Eddie Martin with the Oconee Soil and Water Conservation District.
Yes, sir.
In response to Emily's point, that is self-evident there, as we all have criteria that we look at prior, minimum acreage, conservation values, things of that nature. So they're almost pre-qualified before they come to you, when they come through one of us. And as also was stated, if someone comes here and is not sponsored by an eligible entity, then you've got to turn them away at that point so they can go find somebody to work with.
Do you have many that you turn down that folks come to you with?
Yes, we have to I've had to tell people that, their property did not meet our criteria, or it was not big, the acreage wasn't big enough, or the conservation values of the property itself didn't really merit.
How often does that happen for you? 1 out of 10?
Maybe,
Okay.
yeah. It's not that often, but.
Yeah, I understand.
And some people have, there are people who have the idea that there's free money out here, and we can just go apply for it.
Right.
That's usually what we face, at those point in times. They've heard about the program, they say, well, I'm gonna go for that, but they don't meet the criteria.
How active is the district in actually looking for properties that might qualify and then going to folks? Do y'all do that?
Yes, we do. If I had more people, I would do a lot more of it.
Yeah.
But I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
So I'm basically working on about two projects a year. I'd like to be able to do more.
I got you.
But we constantly have information on our website and on our Facebook page rotating about,
Right.
talk to us if you want to save your property.
How many people come to you per year?
Maybe 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But is it safe to say that the properties that you go out and solicit are properties that, for one reason or another, you viewed as being critical to the mission,
Absolutely.
on the waterways or
Yes.
something along those?
Most of ours, we're looking at prime and statewide soils and protection of farmland. That's our, that's the biggest projects that we do. But we're open to the forest lands and things adjacent to waterways as well. But our main focus up to this point has been farmland and farmland protection.
which is so important.
People don't realize.
Well, it was amazing to me that last week, the article that was in the Journal about the cattle, the beef industry in Oconee County, and how prevalent that was. I had no clue.
Yep.
Thank you, Eddie.
Yes, sir.
So, well,
Anything else from fundraising and public relations reports? I will make, no, I won't. Number 5, discussion items. So we're going right to the Whetstone Hill property. Now we're going to do our analysis. And we will start with the criteria worksheet. Who's our secretary? That would be Ryan. So I'm going to get you to tabulate, okay?
Where's the worksheet at?
What
I got? This is just,
here's the one he wants you to tabulate, I think. Fill in as we discuss it. Is that correct?
Well, we're going to work off of this first.
Yeah.
where'd you get that? Did you print it?
I did. Do you need one?
Yeah, I don't have one.
Can I get you to get one?
I can,
You might as well do the whole suite.
I downloaded it on my computer, but I didn't.
So are you've got them on your computer?
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
all
I've
your
got my
scoring?
laptop, but I don't know if I
So
can.
let me just get somebody you don't have to do that, Katie, somebody who has their criteria worksheet with us, who can score as we go along, keep up with our joint score. And so Emily, you're suggesting he just go right to the evaluation once we make our.
To the,
Let's do that. So have you got this sheet with you by chance? Okay, so
Thanks to Emily.
okay, so we're going to do
I'll start
that
printing.
with you. We're
I saw
gonna,
365 pages and I was like, I'm just going to download it, man.
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I
so-
went through
So
it.
where we are, we're gonna work our criteria worksheet, and Ryan is going to put down our agreed upon score on page 2 of 2 of the evaluation score sheet. And then we'll report that at the end, and that'll be our votes. So Whetstone Hill, grant cycle April, year 2021, mandatory requirement submissions. Number 1, applicant signature present, and all required documents attached. I've got yes. Everybody got yes?
Yep.
Okay.
This way, you'll.
Number 2, landowner notarized signature present, items A and C on application check yes, and this item D check yes, documentation attached. I've got yes. Okay. So we made it through the mandatory requirements, land management evaluation, section 3, land manager qualifications, land manager being the owner. I've got pass. Anybody
Yes.
have anything different? Okay. All right, so now into section 4, conservation criteria. We'll be going for a point subtotal in environmental sensitivity, starting A with wetlands. I had 3. Anybody got anything different?
Nope.
Okay, 3 for that. B, USGS, Blue Line Streams and Lake. I've got 4.
I've got 4, it's bounded on 3 sides, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great water property. 3 sides of great creeks. C,
The one thing I had a question was, because it is just to the middle, it doesn't protect the entire creek, it's bounded on 3 sides. And I just throw this out. I had a 3, I scratched it out, I put a 4, I think I had gone back and forth, but I just wanted to make sure we had considered that when we were looking at this number, is the fact that although it's bounded on 3 sides, which is excellent, it still is only to the center line.
okay.
And so
All
the
right.
creek itself is not.
Okay, can't control that. That's Mr. Lombard's job. Roll his half, what goes its way. C, adjacent to water classified as outstanding natural resource water, et cetera. I've got 0.
Yep, that's a not applicable.
Okay, D, presence of threatened endangered species, I have 0.
0.
E, and tell me if you have anything different. E, presence of habitat suitable for threatened endangered species, I have 2.
Yep.
Well,
Go on, Emily.
okay, so because on this one I had a 4 and a 3. Primarily because living right next to it, I know that we see the red-headed woodpecker. We haven't seen a prairie warbler. We have seen the wood thrush. And we haven't seen, but we do see the yellow-bellied sapsucker. So I'm very well aware that even though it has small areas of woods on it, that those 3 species are right next door and
They're-
probably do,
Are they ENTs, endangered and threatened?
yes.
Okay, and so
That's-
you're,
I had them listed there on my notes.
okay, I got you. So are you going
I'm not
back,
a scientist, Andy.
are you going back to D and D?
This was,
You said 4 and 3, so you must be talking about D and E.
no, D was a no.
Okay.
E, I couldn't decide between a 3 and a 4. Y'all said 2s. So I guess I'm trying to throw out that maybe a 3 would be appropriate.
I would say we should go to 3 at least.
Okay.
I mean, there's firsthand knowledge right
Yep.
there. F, presence of native wildlife species or habitat suitable for native wildlife species. I've got a 3.
I had a 4.
I did the same thing with the 3 and 4 because since it's primarily farmland, I don't know. But again, I know we don't have the persistent trillium, but we do have the coneflower on our property.
So, Scuddy, Charlie, what do you think? Should we go with 3 or 4?
Certainly the habitat is suitable, so that's
Okay.
what we're talking about, whether they're actually there or not.
Understand?
So I'll go with the 4.
That okay with you, Scuddy? Okay, we'll do 4 on F.
Four.
G,
okay.
extent of biodiversity, I've got 0.
Yep.
There wasn't any evidence on that. H, unique geological natural feature, I've got 0 for that.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
All right, so we add all those up.
14?
Okay. You scoring it, Ryan?
Yeah, it's a 14.
All right, very good, thank you, sir. So number 2, presence of property sharing boundary with protected land, I've got 0. 3, historic cultural features, I've got 0. 4, prime statewide soil types, I have 6.
Yes.
Okay, and be sure to tell me if you've got something different. 5, actively farmed, future farmed, I have 4. Anybody got anything different?
I agree with 4.
yes.
Okay. Public visibility of property, I've got 1. It's beautiful. Drive by it every day just about, or ride my bike by it. 7, scenic views from the property.
Yes.
Whetstone Hill. 2, 2. Public access, 0. 9, location, I have 2. Proximity to protected lands, it's very close to national forest.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
1 mile.
10, threat of development, I've got 0 for that. 11, size of protected property, I've got 1 for that. Is it 38 acres? 12, impact on off-site water quality, I have +3 for that.
Yes, I've got 3.
I did 2 with a question mark, but again, that was related to the fact that it doesn't control the whole stream.
Yeah, but it could just, I mean, it could be hammered from his side.
Yes,
and
it could.
Just ruin it. So, yeah.
I did 3.
So 3, if everybody's okay with that. Plans for property, 13, I've got 1.
I gave it a 2.
You gave it a 2? I just, I don't know.
He wants to keep it in the natural environment.
Yeah.
And eventually he wants to build a retirement home
Uh-huh.
in the woods
Uh-huh.
area. We
Uh-huh.
walked that area to see.
Yeah, I got you. And there was talk, and I talked to Chris as well about improvements to the fence, that sort of thing that will, if it is continue to be leased for cattle, that's very important to keep the cattle.
They've terminated that lease. And he
Is
said-
that lease terminated?
May I interrupt? Okay. At present, the
And
lease.
give us your name.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right.
I am Ernie
Yes.
Lombard.
You're the landowner.
I'm the landowner, okay? So as of now, the lease has not been terminated.
Okay.
Okay, and if you will, okay, truthfully, my plan is, in all fairness to the lessee, I did not want to terminate immediately. It's year to year, and based on the fact, in my opinion, that some management has been done on the lessee's part as far as fertilizing the field and such. In truthfulness, I hated to pull the whatever out at the very last minute. However, on the horizon, in my opinion, there is a strong likelihood that that lease will not be renewed.
Well, it says in the lease that the term shall be 5 years, commencing 2019.
However, does it not also state that it can be terminated?
By either party on,
Shall continue in effect from year to year thereafter unless written notice of termination is given by either party with 45 days. So yeah, it can be terminated.
Okay, is that?
So the term of the lease is 5 years, but it can be terminated,
Correct,
yes.
correct.
And we are certainly not asking that it be terminated by any means. Our only concern would be if it continues to be leased, that stream is protected because that's one of the most valuable features of it. And I think that's part of the commitment that I think you and Upstate Forever has made, that there'll be a significant buffer there and good fences.
Absolutely, and as of right now, I cannot unfortunately produce anything in writing. I do hope that my word holds some credibility.
Sure it does.
it absolutely does.
Okay, in all honesty, there are tree huggers and there are water huggers and lovers, and I am the latter as well as the tree hugger as well. So I know that that is of utmost priority, and I can assure you that that is on my radar. And
Absolutely.
I realize that right now, it is certainly not optimal.
Yeah. And so, just from our perspective too, that's important to us because we understand that that's a real strong part of conservation is
Yes, sir.
protecting water quality. And,
Yes.
this is an opportunity not only to give something to the future, but to improve something
Oh,
for the
absolutely.
future. And we embrace that opportunity.
And I appreciate that, and hinging on that, I am pursuing this because it is in my heart to do that. No one has encouraged me to do such. I am doing it because it is part of the legacy that I would like to leave behind when I'm no longer on this earth.
Yeah. And we love that. And, the idea, if you put a residence there, that, it kind of meets the best of both worlds. somebody can live there, and everybody gets the benefit of good water quality and a beautiful place that we can
Yes.
see.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Yes, sir.
you.
you.
So what do we got for our subtotal there?
Are we
Right.
going?
Well, I'm still
are we
on-
going
Wait.
one or two?
Hang on, hang
Did you
on.
get this?
We got a subtotal of section
Water
4.
quality. I'm on water. All right.
Water quality, we ended up with a 3,
Three,
so
okay.
we're at plans for property.
Plans for
And
property.
we
And
had
so
a
we're
1
going to
versus a 2.
I would say go to a 2 for that. I mean, if that's suitable. Scotty, you good with that? Okay. And you speak up anytime you want to now. You tell us. Jump right in, you and Charlie both. Yes, ma'am?
The total of 22 for
What's your
this?
total, Ryan?
He's gonna officially add it up with a computer.
Oh,
Well, I mean, 10,
I've got,
so 24, 5, 6, 8.
No, it's more than that.
so why don't you run through,
Yeah,
give us
Yeah,
those
we're gonna do the 14
I got
on the
35.
first page. I don't think-
35 for the
yeah, that'd
subtotal
be
of
right. I
section
added 4 there and
4
1 there.
is what
What's it,
I was leaving off.
Ryan comes up with.
Yeah, 35.
Everybody okay with 35? Why don't you just run through 1 through 13 and just give us those numbers?
Okay, so you may give you the title too, environmental sensitivity. We've got a 14,
Uh-huh.
share boundary, 0, historical cultural features, 0, prime and important soil, 6, actively farmed, 4, public visibility of property, 1, scenic view, 1, public access, 2, location to park.
Wait, public access too?
Mhm.
Should be a 0.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 0, but I thought on scenic view that we gave
I thought that was,
one for each, 1 for A and 1 for B.
Yeah, so scenic view was a 2,
2, okay,
2 total,
and public access was a 0.
yeah.
okay. All right.
9.
Location to park, 2. Threat of development,
Was that 2 for both of those, A and B?
Maximum points 2.
Is 2.
Okay,
So it's A, 2,
2.
to get a total for 9 of 2.
Got it, okay.
Uh-huh.
okay, so number 9 is 2.
Okay.
Number 10 is 0. Number 11 is 1. Number 12 is 3. Number 13 is 2.
For a grand total of,
Now my number should adjust.
No, it's
Is it
still
still
35.
35? Okay.
Yeah, you had just flipped these 2 scores, I think.
Okay.
I think it's what it was.
35, okay. All right, so next, financial criteria evaluation. Section 5, on page 3 of 4 of our criteria worksheet. Number 1, financial expertise and resources for enforcement. That's a pass-fail. That's our applicant, and it's pass. Funding percentage requested, I gave a 1,
Well, I gave a 2.
I gave
Uh,
3.
and Laura gave a 3.
My theory on not giving it a 3 is that I wanted to save that for somebody who requested, I don't know, 5%. And because this is just the $1, this is basically the maximum. And my reason for not giving it a 1 is because I figured in the policy, we say in special circumstances with justification, we can go over that 10%. So I kind of figured I would save the 1 for that case. Now, that's just me. Because I had to figure out why we had a 3 there.
Laura?
I don't know why I gave it a 3. I gave it a 3 because it was 10%, which was not over. But I understand your logic. It makes sense to me to do a 2.
How's that logic sound to you, Charlie and Scotty?
I had a 2 on it.
Charlie had a 2. Scotty, what'd you have?
Basically, getting more bang for our buck.
What, you had a 2 as well? Let's go with a 2.
I say 2.
All right, 2. Matching funds, I had a 4. What did anybody else have?
I had a 5 because the owner is donating 65%. And I figure, I guess they could donate 100%, but then they wouldn't be in front of us.
Just
I
like
was-
if they were asking for nothing, they wouldn't be here.
Yeah, so, I mean, I just think that, and they have matching funds from the SCCB for 25%, but I consider the owner's donation a matching fund.
Okay. What do
That was
y'all
just
think
me.
about that? Scotty, Charlie, anybody else, Laura?
Yeah.
For 5?
Yeah, I think we can't be scared to use it every once in a while. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a reason.
4, partnerships, et cetera. I've got 0.
Yeah. I kind of struggled with this one because I think that Ernie and Chris had some discussion about they've applied for funding from NRCS, and is that, or am I getting confused?
Let's see, can I,
Come on up.
Yeah.
okay, the exact title, like,
If you need anything, ask me.
yeah, okay, what you may be referring to was an application that I made at what I call the agricultural building here in Walhalla, and officially, if I may, okay, the title of that.
It would probably be NRCS and it'd be the equip program.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, and that application is in, and there's some additional questions or something I've learned, and I'm waiting on paperwork for those questions to be answered and returned. So as of right now, that application is still in progress. I've not received word that it has been denied, so I do consider it to be in progress.
Yeah.
And, I mean, hopefully, and that's another discussion, probably not for here, but if that funding is available, then what I have marked in my mind is to use that hopefully to start working on the creek banks, if you
Right.
will.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully planting along the buffer and such.
So we are looking at that as a partnership.
Well, if it's considered as such, I mean, realistically, and I even have done a little bit of homework, and that's just on my part. I've not been able to get too far, but whenever Chris and I were talking, I mean, there was some discussion possibly even about a grasslands initiative and such, because as I told him, I mean, in all honesty, I don't consider myself to be truthfully a livestock farmer. That's not the main purpose of the land in my mind. I mean, grasslands and even possibly, hopefully some restoration so I can hear the Bob Whites after it rained like I used to whenever I was a child. But
That's great
That's
input.
further down the road. But does
Yeah, that's
that
good.
answer
So,
your
I mean, I would go with that and say at least a 1 on partnerships. I mean, you have the total intention. Go ahead, Charlie.
By virtue of the fact that there's nothing approved about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be hard pressed to call it a partnership.
Okay, all right, that's
And
fine
see,
with
that
me.
was kind of my
Yeah.
issue,
Okay.
Charlie.
Yeah,
Okay.
unless I'm wrong, the NRCS comes in and grants money for mitigating stream banks. They're not coming in, it's gifted, I mean, it's the owners, I mean, it's not really a partnership, is it, Eddie?
It is a cost share.
Okay, so they match.
That would make it a partnership to me, because they come in, Ernie would put in an application and state what he wanted to do there,
Uh-huh.
and once he has completed that, they reimburse him.
Okay.
They make sure that it's.
Has to be done the right
Make sure
way.
it's been planted, make sure the, program initiatives have been completed, and then they reimburse him part cost.
And I think that fits within the scope of what we conceive of as a partnership. We're not talking about a formal legal partnership, like two people going into business together and sharing debts.
Right.
We're talking about working with any kind of entity to
But are we
achieve the
talking
goals.
future or present? I mean,
Well, and I think Charlie's right on that it should be a 0 because it's not coming to us with a partnership.
Yeah, it's not
It's a good part of your plan.
Okay.
Okay.
We just have to be
I think
clear.
you got points for the plan of earlier.
That's right.
Yeah, good point, Charlie.
Perfect point.
Anything further at the moment?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you.
Number 5, cost per acre to OCCB. Anybody do the math on that?
Yes, I've got $6,036 is fair market value, 301 is the OCCB funds, that's per acre, which is 5%.
We're paying $301 per acre,
$301 per acre, which is 5%.
okay? I put down 2.
I did too.
I did too.
All right, 2 it is.
And 6 other economic benefits, I put 1, I guess because it's producing beef in our
Oh,
county.
see, I looked at difference. I gave it a 2 because it is the impact on the water quality, which will reduce the taxpayer, taxpayer in me always wants the landowner to protect the water quality and the reduced flooding in the area, and that can be an issue.
What we call those ecosystem services.
Yes, and then, you've got carbon sequestration but I was really looking at the potential infrastructure impact in terms of the water quality and the reduced flooding. But as I sit here, 2 might be too much.
Any other thoughts?
I think there's economic benefit for that. I wouldn't go overboard.
So what would you score it?
1, okay.
We're gonna stick with the 1. So what do we get there, Ryan?
10?
And could you just run through those again, please, sir?
Yes. Number 1 was yes.
Uh-huh,
Number 2 was a 2.
uh-huh,
Number 3 was 5. Number 4 was 0.
uh-huh.
Number 5 was 2.
Uh-huh.
Number 6 was 1.
So
Total
that is-
section 2 is a score of 10.
So giving us a total of 45 points. Our criteria, and we're learning as we go, in our policy is farmland must have a minimum score of 30. So it definitely makes it above that.
And if we're scoring it, because now, one thing, actually, as we sit here talking, the future, actively farmed, future farmed, which is 5, in the beginning, we gave it 4, actively farmed, 3 points, and future plans is up to 3 points. And so I'm kind of sitting here going, well, I guess we can stick with the 4. It's going to be actively farmed for the immediate future, perhaps not long-term, but there is a 5-year lease. But it would also pass the score if it were not farmland, which is a minimum of 40. So
30,
farmland is 30, isn't it?
yeah,
And non-farmland is 40.
that is correct.
So even, because what my brain said was, well, once it's no longer farmed,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
it would still meet,
I guess.
if in the future, because there's a question about future plans, if in the future it is no longer farmed, then it would still be,
Maybe.
uh,
I'm not sure if that's true. And I think we don't need to speculate on that because that's not the application before us. Because if he, maybe I won't do the fences because I don't have cattle there anymore. The
Yeah.
plans may decrease, so we don't
Yeah.
know
Well, that's part
exactly.
of the reason why I cut back on the economic benefit number. Cattle goes away, you don't have that beef production.
yeah.
So
hay?
it passes. It passes for what it came for. So Ryan, your job will be then on the page 1 of this?
Yes.
To fill in all that stuff?
It's filled in for him.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
all
already.
right, very good. So,
Check off yes.
there you go. Do we have because this is what we will actually approve and add to the minutes.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion to approve the evaluation score sheet for the Whetstone Hill property?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So do we have a motion to approve the grant request from Upstate Forever for how many dollars?
$11,499.
$11,499. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Very good. On to the next. Scotty, you still got 10 minutes,
Okay.
okay?
I need to blow up my nose.
Okay.
No, I just need one.
No,
What do you want?
Just to clean it.
Oh, I got one, hold on. Come back.
It's mouse.
Oh, you, Stephen.
Okay, so next up is the,
Before we get started.
yes, sir.
Let me see if I've got that. I don't, for some reason, I don't have, oh, here it is. The Tyco Ida
Yeah.
form for Ryan to do. I've got it.
You got
You
it?
need a blank one?
Now I've got a blank one here that Ryan can use.
Okay.
Tyco Ida. Tyco Ida. Right, Tycoda.
Tyco Ida.
Yeah, Tycoda.
Well, but if you look at the first page, it's Tyco Ida.
Tyco Ida.
That's what the
Tyco Ida.
application
Okay.
says.
All right, Tyco Ida.
I've been practicing it.
This is on the criteria worksheet, April cycle 2021, section 2, mandatory requirements. Number 1, applicant signature present and all required documents attached. Yes, landowner notarized signature present, etc. Yes. So it passes the mandatory requirements, land management evaluation, that's the landowners from what they've given us. I gave them a pass, not a fail, a pass. So now, section 4, conservation criteria. Wetlands, I gave them a 2.
I had a 2 or a 3. I couldn't make up my mind.
You want us to make it up for you?
I think it's a 3.
You're going 3?
Yeah.
Well, and tell me why.
Well, we were there, okay?
Yes, sir, there you go.
Emily and I were there,
Okay.
and it's not a huge wetland, but it does exist, and it has a nice plant community in it, and, so, there.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Everybody okay with a 3 on that?
Yep.
Okay, love having people on site, that's the best thing you can do. B, Blue Line Streams and Lake, I gave it a 2.
Give it a 4.
Laura gave it a 4.
And I had a 2 or a 3. I was having a hard time making up my mind.
It's about
She's
that.
got a lot of mark throughs on that.
Tell us about that 4, Laura.
I mean, I wrote down that it was Cornhouse Creek and it ultimately, feeds, into, I think it's into Lake Kiowee, I don't know,
What'd you give it, Charlie?
I gave it a 3, and my rationale for that is that they only control half of it again. That was a problem for me.
oh, okay.
And as on our visit, I found everything in the application to be accurate, okay, and truthful. The pond that's on the property, I mean, literally the property line runs down through the middle of the feeding stream, down through the pond, and then I actually think the majority of this wetland is on the subject property,
Yeah.
the way it went on down through. But there are relatives that control the other side. And they said that they, maybe they might do something one of these days, but, that they don't control it. I mean, the amount of water that they said is on this property, but there's an equal amount of water on, controlled by those adjacent properties. So that was the big problem I had, is that they only control half of it, one side of it.
And so you gave it on B, you gave it a 3, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
You gave 2 or 3, I gave it 2. Scotty, how about you? Huh?
3.
Okay, let's go with the 3 then. It seems like a majority place to be. Adjacent to water classified as outstanding natural resource water, etc. I gave a 0. Presence of threatened and endangered species, I gave it a 2.
It does have Oconee Bell on it.
It has a Oconee Bell.
A Oconee Bell.
So what do you say, Charlie?
And it's practically,
That's
got a sign over it.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, that's endangered on the other side. It's not
It
gonna be
is.
good. I mean, it could be there, it could expand, but.
Very endangered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the habitat's there
Uh-huh.
and the plant is present, but it is a single plant.
So
And
E is more appropriate for a higher score than D, in your opinion.
See, I think I had waffled on it again, it looks like 6 times, and I think I ended up with a 2. but I don't know.
2 on D. So, well, think of it as D and E. So it sounds like what you're saying, Charlie, it'd be more suitable to get something like a 4 for E and a lower score for D.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 1. It's definitely a presence. I give it 1 for D and 3 for the habitat, because it's there, and the habitat.
Are we okay with that?
That's a total.
I would give it a 4 for the habitat, because I think it's got habitat for other endangered species also.
I'm endangered, I know it had trillium on it.
And after I made a mistake, it has the Case Species Trillium.
You are correct
But-
in that there were other plants there besides.
Yeah, and it's also suitable for the red-headed woodpecker, the smooth coneflower, the long-eared bat, from the application and
Yeah,
the
landowner
documentation.
The landowner gave us on site her little list that she'd been keeping of the critters and items that she had seen on the property.
Oh, wow.
And we looked down over and I said, I don't see copperheads on here, so we'll go on the field trip, so.
Well, the question does,
No Sasquatch, right?
we've got a 1 for D. For E, what do we
A
want?
1 for D,
Keep some notes.
then I would do a 4 for E, if we're only going to give a 1 for D, for sure.
That's fine.
Okay, all right, we'll do that. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Presence of native wildlife species or habitat suitable for?
What's your highest score? They got them all here.
It could be 4.
Okay, 4.
Okay. Everybody okay with a 4?
This is-
Extent of biodiversity, again, could go up to 4. I gave it a 2, but I mean, I didn't see it.
I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4.
I give it a 4 as well, because it's small, but you got
That's
everything
great.
from wetlands all the way to Pine Ridge.
That's wonderful. Unique geologic feature, natural features, 0. All right.
Give me your total.
Percentage of property shared land, 0.
Wait a second.
Hang on, whoa.
Let's add up
We gotta add
that.
up.
Oh, yeah.
3, 6, 7, 11. Is it 19?
Yep,
Somebody check that.
yep, I've got
Is that good? Going once.
19. All right, very good. How many OCCB members does it take
Hey, easy.
to, easy, Clark. 2 percentage points, property sharing boundary with protected land, 0. Historic cultural features, 0. Prime statewide soil type, 0. Actively farmed, 0. Public visibility of property, I gave it 1. Does that sound right?
There really isn't any public visibility of it.
There's not?
No.
Okay,
I mean, do you think so, Emily?
No, I gave it
Go
a
down
0.
long Lane to get to it, and it's.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So 0 for that. Scenic views from the property or preservation of scenic nature of area. I gave it a 0. What do y'all think? Y'all were there.
It's pretty, you're down in a hole. You don't see.
Okay,
You
all
don't
right.
see anything.
Sticking with 0. Public access, 0. Location, I gave it a 2 on proximity to protected lands. Okay. Threat of development, I gave it a 4.
And I gave it a 5.
I gave it a 5 because of the cliff.
So a well-developed area close by, so it's prime.
Anything in that corridor is,
Yeah.
in my
Okay.
opinion, 5.
So what do y'all think, 5, 4, 5?
5.
Okay, all right.
It's got water and it's there.
Size of protected property, I gave it a 1. How many acres is it? I'm sorry, I forgot.
40-something.
Okay, so it's 0 to 50, so
42, is that what it was?
so 1. Impact on
Yeah.
off-site water quality, I put down 3. What y'all
I
think,
did too, 'cause
having been there?
Farmhouse Creek is a tributary to Lake Kiowee is what I wrote, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Plans for property, I put 1.
I put a 2.
I put a 2 because it's a riparian buffer preserve. I mean, they're preserving the water.
Scotty,
on
what you
one
think?
side.
You gave it 2? Charlie, what do you think?
2, because, I mean, we talked about, it's not just their plan for the property during their ownership. They're looking beyond that.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's,
Look
I
into the
think their
future.
plans are largely to do nothing, okay? Because I pointed out to them that there's a reasonably valuable timber resource on the property. and we had a conversation about that. They said, yes, they considered, I told her, you could harvest timber off the property and not hurt the property if it's done properly. And she understood that they had considered it and punted on it
I see.
in the future. So,
Okay.
but who knows what future generations will do, but they're giving long-term thoughts to the plans to the property.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's a good point, because I do believe their conservation easement prohibits timber harvesting.
Really?
Really?
Golly, I don't know if I've got it here. I thought this was
Chris,
the.
if you can hear us, Chris, or see us, can you answer that question on whether or not the conservation easement addresses timber harvesting? You can email me or text me. And I have some more text stuff that I'll share when we're,
I thought,
from Chris, it's appropriate
Wait a
for
second.
earlier in the meeting.
I thought this was the one that I had seen okay, so they cannot remove or cut any tree. Oh, that's on the protected property. Oh,
Or
no,
not.
this is in the buffer. Okay.
Yes, just the stream buffer.
Yeah, that's just the stream buffer, but I
think the easements.
okay, here is the forest.
No,
That
it's
allows-
just information. You can harvest timber
You
and
can
have a
harvest
conservation
timber,
easement.
yeah.
Yes, you can, but if the
Cultural activity.
conservation easement prohibits it, then you can't.
Right.
And I was saying that only because Charlie said, a lot of conservation easements, in fact, do allow it, and they just require best practices.
Right.
The only ones I've ever seen.
Yeah, but this one says that they cannot harvest or cut any trees except dead ones, substantially damaged, significant or immediate hazard to life or property, cut, remove, eradicate a plant that is recognized as non-indigenous, cut and remove trees after obtaining grantee's prior approval when necessary to perform otherwise activities otherwise permitted by this conservation easement, e.g. clearing a site for permitted building.
Okay, so we're talking about plans for the property and whether we're getting 0, 1, or 2 points. And I think this all goes towards Charlie's remark that they have thought about what the future's gonna bring. We don't know whether it's gonna bring timbering, but it's gonna be affected by the conservation easement. Particularly vital and critical things to preserve, and like the buffer.
Yeah.
So again, what do you think we want to give for the plans on this? 2 seems to be the consensus, which is fine. So Ryan, will you read us what we got so far on?
So 2 on number 13, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 1, 19,
Huh?
2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0, 6, 0, 7, 0, 8, 0, 9, 2, 10.
Did we end up with 2 on 9?
Yes.
Oh,
what I
yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Okay.
number 10 is 5.
Uh-huh,
Number 11 is 1. Number 12 is 3. Number 13 is 2.
Let's see.
So we're at 21, 26,
Came up with 32.
32.
okay, very good. All right, so financial criteria evaluation. I put down did you get 32 with that, Ryan?
Yes.
Okay. Financial criteria, we get a yes, pass on expertise and resources for
Yep.
Upstate Forever. 2, funding percentage requested. I put a 3 down. Everybody okay with that?
I put a 2 for the same reasons I did on the last one.
Say, are we going with the same criteria as the last one that,
Let's
Yeah.
go with 2 then.
yeah.
Matching funds, I put a 5 down there.
Yeah. And this one, the owner is donating 90% plus $1.
Wow.
This is the only funds they're requesting. And I can't imagine a more.
Wait a second. So you're considering them as matching funds?
I
guess.
am,
Okay.
90%.
because sometimes people sell their conservation easement.
That's right. You're correct. It is a donation. It'll be considered that tax-wise as well. 4, partnerships, I put 0. 5 cost per acre, I put 2, and what is that dollar figure, Emily? You got that figured out?
It's, the fair market value is $6,544. Their, the OCCB cost is $428, which is 6.5%.
Other economic benefits.
So we're 2 on number 5, right?
That's correct. Other economic benefits, I put 1, I'm not sure why.
I put a 2,
And why was that?
keep it from development. That area is beautiful, pristine, and it is threatened.
Okay.
Because, I mean, that,
And maybe I put 1 because of, well, not for that reason, for ecosystem services, for the protection landscape. That, any other thoughts on that? And Scuddy, it's 10 o'clock if you need to go.
Okay,
Are you good?
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
all right.
Appreciate you.
Scotty, take care.
I put 1.
And why was that, Charlie?
It's on the west side of the road going up there, whatever the name of that road is, and the cliffs is on the other side. And it's still, it's a long ways back off of that road. I mean, it'd be a long time before, of course, this is a forever type of thing,
you've
but
got that development though going in on the west side of the road. I mean, they've been working on it a long time. It's the one that was gonna be the winery and horse farm and all of that. There is.
Trust me, it does not have to be visible nor fronting a major road to be
well,
developed.
that's true.
You could
Right.
subdivide, do 3 to 5 acre lots up there. I could sell, I mean, a broker could sell those like hotcakes.
Yeah, no, that's fine, I mean,
So, explain that to me, 2 as an economic benefit from not being developed.
right.
How's that an economic benefit?
Yeah. And see, I looked more at, because I thought we got under the threat of development.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
here,
that's true.
I just, you know, I had the water quality and reduced flooding, the
Yeah,
environmental.
ecosystem services.
Ecosystem services. But I think you're right, thinking about this property and where it is. This particular property being protected, unless the other side is protected, will have, I think, probably less impact than the Whetstone Hill property, just because of where the Whetstone Hill property is situated.
Yeah.
I mean, it floods regularly right now.
Right.
There needs, I shouldn't say regularly, but it has,
I guess I feel more comfortable with 1 than 2 myself.
Yeah.
It-
I could go with a 1 here.
Just on ecosystem services, you know, that's.
Yeah.
Okay.
10? So 10 is the total?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you visited.
So 10's our total there.
42 is the total?
So, yeah, and just run through those again with me on the valuation.
Number 1 is yes, number 2 is 2,
Yes, sir.
number 3 is 5,
Uh-huh.
number 4 is 0,
Uh-huh.
number 5 is 2,
Uh-huh.
number 6 is 1, total section 2 is 10, total evaluation is 42.
So it made the minimum by 2 points. Non-farmland must have a minimum score of 40. We made that score higher because it seemed from our experience that the non-farmland properties were really getting bigger scores because they had a lot of, and this one did have a lot of environmental sensitivity type characteristics. So that's a total there, Ryan, of 42. So can we have a motion to approve the evaluation score sheet that we've done?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Can we have a motion on whether we approve, a motion to approve the application from the applicant for funding in the amount of how many?
$17,999.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve a grant?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Before you leave them, we need a motion for someone to prepare this.
Do you need these, Katie?
Yeah.
I can bring them in.
so the next thing at this phase that we need to do is prepare our report that we will give to the Oconee Council, Oconee County Council. Do we have any volunteers that want to do that?
Well, I would do the Whetstone one.
Okay.
Laura will do the Whetstone. Thank you, Charlie. You'll do the taco.
But I've never done it, so I don't know.
That's
You know
okay.
what, I've never done it either.
Okay.
Talk to
So,
Emily,
but
talk to
you know-
Emily. She's done
Okay,
many.
she's done, yeah, she's been doing it, so you've got her email, and I'll give you her phone number if you want.
And y'all have the form?
Yes, it's,
Okay.
Okay, so I move that Laura does the Whetstone Hill and that Charlie does the Tacoita. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Aye. Second part of this process is,
All right.
aye. Second part of the process is presenting it to council. I'm happy to do that unless somebody else wants to do that.
I think it's a chairperson's job.
Okay, all right. Do you now?
I do.
So, okay, do we need a motion on that, or do I just do it? I can't even remember whether it's in our
Well,
policy.
I'll make a motion that
Okay.
the chair present it to
okay.
All right, any discussion? I don't want
county
to.
council. I
Okay,
dropped my-
all in favor?
Aye.
Continued discussion action regarding Peggy Moore property. And that's just an update from Eddie that Eddie sent to Katie and myself, that they are headed for a closing on June 3rd, which trips all of the things that are in our policy, which must be done, reviewing the pertinent documents, and asking to have the fund dispersed from our accounts, and ultimately to the closing attorney. Is it
Derek or Williams and Morris?
Okay, gotcha, okay. And so that's the basic update on that, right, Eddie? There's nothing else to really share, that's just for everybody's knowledge. It's gonna propose to close on June 3rd. Continued discussion action regarding William Lyle's estate property, and I just wanted to bring this up because I was approached by the lessee of that farmland, Jimmy Robbins, same lessee actually with Whetstone Hill, that he was very unhappy that this was going to the Forest Service. One, because he might lose his lease to grow. He grows corn and hay there for his cows. And two, he didn't trust the Forest Service's stewardship potential. We talked about it for quite a while, and the one thing that it really brought up, because I share that his feeling about the farming there, and I think we knew that going in. We definitely knew going in that this was headed for a transfer to the Forest Service, and we chose that to support rather than it being developed. And I think that's a lot of why we made the decision we did, other than it had a lot of good qualities worth being conserved. But I think that the logistical, practical thing that it tells me is that we need to require the applicant to tell us if there is a lessee, so that we can give them notice, so they can actually can comment during our process.
Yeah, require, like we require the
That's right, the
the
adjacent
notification
landowners.
that the applicant notify any lessee with that same, whatever the language is, with the
Yeah.
opportunity.
For
If they
adjacent
have
owners.
comments, they can submit it to the OCCB.
That's our minimum that we should do from that conversation, because I don't think we can, I mean, we want to support what land trusts, like the Natural Land Trust, and what they do, which is buy property and transfer it to entities that are in the public business of conservation.
Well, we need to, as we learn as we go, we need to be aware that when the intention is for it to be fee simply transferred or purchased by the Forest Service, it cannot be restricted nor have any conservation easement on it. Therefore, they can do whatever they want to, whenever they want to.
Which
Like-
is the reason, if the grant agreement is signed as is required and recorded, the Forest Service may not accept it. And so we need to understand, and our applicants need to understand, that if they're getting money from this organization,
Yeah,
that may kill, it may not kill a transfer to South Carolina,
yeah.
DNR.
Well, they're,
But the Forest Service,
it's just kind of a can of worms because, we have the unilateral right to refuse
a transfer.
a transfer.
We do, but I think it would be a strong argument that it would be disingenuous of us if we knew in the application that it was headed for the Forest Service, for us to then say, we're not going to approve your applicant's proposal to transfer it to the Forest Service because we knew it going in. They'd have a strong argument for that. But then on the other side, what if there are plans to put a parking lot up there?
Or a Doveville.
Or something that we don't think is a viable conservation use. It's a tough nut. It really is. I mean, that could if we went hard on that, we could potentially knock the Natural Land Trust out of any grant because they're always going to transfer. Or not always,
Not
but
always, but-
90%,
That's a major
90% of the
partner.
time
It's
they're
a
going to
major
transfer.
A major
Yeah.
entity that they
It-
do business with.
And it's a major part of their purpose is to be that flexible, private entity that can go in and act faster than a governmental agency.
How about we just wrestle the federal government down to the mat on this?
Well, yeah, let me tell you my story about
No, I
negotiating with the feds.
Why don't you solve the crisis in the Middle East while you're at it?
Good idea.
Anyhow, I wanted to bring that up, and I want to close with, unless we have more discussion on that. These are texts from Chris as we were going through that I kind of got later than after we'd already passed. So in talking about the benefits, it's a voluntary program. Landowners are only exercising their rights, develop versus conserve. There are existing farms, future parks, and important habitats, all of which protect water quality. Once developed, they cannot go back to being farms, parks, or habitats. We also, Upstate Forgiver, turn down projects all the time. I'll be turning one down today, turned one down last week too. And then when we were talking about the plans, I think on Whetstone Hill, consider the potential for future farming because no one knows the future of any property. The property contains prime soils for ag and the easement protect that potential. Timber management is not allowed on Tyco either.
That's what I thought. Because that's what the owner,
He
that's,
says, timber harvest would jeopardize the habitat value. So I just wanted to add that. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
wait a second. Sorry, no. Can I skip back? I now have 4 things on my applications/policy list, and I'm wondering if the committee needs to address these with, and I can tell y'all, the things that I've got listed is, does the landowner live on the property? Is the property leased? We want a copy of the lease agreement. I now have, we need notification of the lessee as the 3rd item, and then there's a typo. So I don't know if this group needs to make a motion to have that committee address these issues, even though we just did a new application? Or do we want to wait?
Well, the committee wasn't disbanded. I think we can get together and talk about that as the committee, about
Okay.
what a strategy would be to move forward on the things we've collected over the last little while for potential
Okay,
policy amendments or ordinance amendments.
yeah.
So do we have to have a proposal and discussion anytime we want to change the application and procedures? And then take it to the county board?
Not for the application procedures, but for the ordinance. Because we
Okay.
create all those documents, all our
Okay.
procedures
So we
and
can
forms.
alter our application to add
And our
the lessee
procedures.
information and that sort of
Right.
thing, but you're
It'll
talking
just have to be a
ordinance.
motion of us and action of ours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion